Confusing Nouns and Verbs, Part 1. In these lessons in Parts 1 and 2, we'll be looking at nouns and verbs that are confusing even for native speakers sometimes. In Part 1, we'll look at 3 pairs of nouns and 3 pairs of verbs. And in Part 2, we'll look at 4 pairs of noun-verb combinations. But let's start with a quick review. What is a noun? A noun is a person, place, thing, or idea. An idea is something that's abstract. And what is a verb? A verb, well, it's an action or state. So let's start with confusing nouns. Here are the pairs of nouns we'll be looking at. Do you know all of these words? Well, let's begin with desert and dessert. Yum! Notice that desert has one S while dessert has 2 S's. How can you remember which is which? Well, go ahead and finish this sentence. I would like some more dessert, right? Well, just remember, you want more dessert, and dessert has more S's. Now let's talk about sight and sight. Well, these words are pronounced the same way, but as you can see, they're spelled differently and they also mean very different things. See if you can finish this sentence based on the photograph. This is a construction. That's right, site, S-I-T-E. Site here means a place or location. You know what a website is, don't you? Well, a website is a place on the web. So site in website is also spelled S-I-T-E. Well, S-I-G-H-T means something totally different. There is no one in sight. Sight here has to do with vision or something that you can see. So it makes sense to say owls have excellent eyesight. What about residence and resident? Well, both of these words have to do with where you live. Complete this sentence. Is this your place of residence? Great. Residence has to do with the location, the place where someone lives. The residents of the city mostly walk. Residents refers to the people that live in a certain place. Great. Now let's talk about confusing verbs. Here are the pairs of verbs that we'll be looking at. Do you know all of these words? Let's begin with lend and borrow. Lend basically means to give, while borrow means to take, but only temporarily. Let's use the library as an example. How would you finish this sentence? You can, good, borrow books from the library. Notice the subject is you. You would be doing the action of borrowing. But what about the library? The library will lend. That's right. The library will lend books to you. Let's try one more example. Some people can blank money from banks. Pay attention to the subject to help you. Some people can borrow money from banks. Banks blank money in the form of loans. What do the banks do? They lend the money in the form of loans. Great. Now let's talk about the verbs lie and lay. Well, these can be very confusing, but just try to remember that lie does not take a direct object, but after lay, you must have a direct object. Here's a chart reminding you of the ways that these verbs change depending on the tense. See if you can finish this sentence. Boris is blank on the floor. Boris is lying on the floor. Great. There is no direct object after lie. On the floor is a prepositional phrase. Boris is lying on the floor. Try to complete this sentence using the photograph. They blanked the wood floors yesterday. Good. They laid the wood floors yesterday. The direct object is wood floors. Let's try one more example. Every night, Mommy blank baby in the crib. Lays. That's right. Every night, Mommy lays baby in the crib. You want to make sure to use lay because we have a direct object, baby. Now let's talk about our last pair of verbs, complement and complement. These two words are pronounced the same way, but one is spelled with an E and the other with an I, and they mean different things. We can say, steak and wine blank each other well. They complement each other well, which basically means that they go well together or they complete each other. And we can also talk about people this way. Roxanne's sweet personality complements Kevin's sensitive nature. Now, compliment with an I means saying something that is really nice about another person. Do you like it when people tell you you sing like a superstar, or when they say you're the funniest person I've ever met? Well, these are examples of compliments. I just want to point out that compliment with an E and compliment with an I are both verbs, but actually they can also be nouns. Well, thank you so much for watching part 1. We're not done yet. Make sure to move on to watch part 2.